If you want to watch this show, just search Triple M NRL on YouTube. You can watch every episode. And also, if you want to leave us a hot take in the comments, we will read it out.
Yes,
we will debate it every week. So get your comments in on YouTube if you're watching. Same on Spotify as well.
Please don't bag us, though. I'm really sick of getting bagged.
You've been copping it this year so far.
A little bit so far, yeah. So go easy, will you?
Yeah.
I've got a family, man.
Yeah, and he's a great bloke, Brent Reid.
A good fella.
He's all right.
He's a fantastic bloke.
Go easy. Rip into Dave. Feel free. Or Charlie.
I'm sure our audience will have huge opinions on this because I don't know what on earth is happening at the Broncos, but they are just finding headline after headline after headline. And for me, this is a massive story. Ben Teo, considered one of the best assistant coaches in the game, huge future in coaching, loved by guys like Wayne Bennett. Him and Michael Maguire have had a falling out. And Dave, it seems like, Reedy, I'll come to you first. It seems like Ben Teo will leave the Broncos.
Yeah, and it's obviously a shock, right, Charlie? But it just keeps the Broncos have been a news production machine this year, and you know they won on Friday night, huge win in Melbourne, hadn't won them in a long time. And then this story comes out, and suddenly they're in the news again for all the wrong reasons. So it's a massive blow for Michael Maguire because Benny Teo, the Minister of Defence, one of the best assistant coaches in the NRL, and now it looks as though he's out of Red Hill. So shock. It's a shock. It's a blow for Madge. And, you know, obviously something pretty significant's happened for Ben Teo to walk out in that club because he's coming off. He could have left at the end of last season. And Dave, you can touch on this. He could have gone to the Gold Coast, but he didn't go because he wanted to be part of that premiership winning team. He believed they were in a window. So for him to walk away now, obviously something pretty significant has taken place.
Yeah, that's spot on. He had the opportunity to join Josh Hannay as his assistant coach at the Gold Coast Titans. And it was actually on Mad Monday that sitting there, Ben realised that I can't walk away from this roster, this squad, this opportunity of such talent who he loved working with all the way through to the premiership and clearly had a major influence on given their success. And you can understand that on why coaches want to side with the best talent in the game, and that was the case for Ben, and respectfully knock back Josh Hannay's approach. I honestly believe this is a series of events that's led to this decision today. I don't think it's one moment. I think it's a number of factors that have led to this split between Ben Teo and Michael Maguire, one of which I firmly believe I'm confident in, and that is that Ben was set to be the Queensland Origin assistant coach to Billy Slater, and Madge didn't want Ben to take up that role, wanted him more focused on the Broncos and continuing 24/7 on the Bronx.
Why would Madge stop him from being the Queensland coach when even you look at a guy like Josh Hannay, assistant coach, well, you look at a guy like Josh Hannay, who the Cronulla were more than happy to let him go and do that. It makes them a better coach, doesn't it? Working in an environment like that.
Absolutely. I would think that's the case. And I can only assume that he wanted Ben there 24/7 focused on the Broncos. I'm with you. The Origin is a fast track of development. And not only that, it's a conduit to the best players in the game, which only enhances the Broncos' reputation, but relationship with the best players in the game when it comes to recruitment. Josh Hannay worked with the Maroons. Craig Fitzgibbon worked with the Blues. They were major stepping stones in both those coaches' development. And if you actually look at Madge's career also, there was a period where he wanted to work as an advisor to the Raiders, coach the Blues, but also maintain his role with the Kiwis for that short period. So he certainly understands the value that you get from working with representative teams. So I found it odd. I found it surprising, and I can understand. I firmly believe Ben felt as though that was a knockback that was hard to take.
It's significant for Madge too because Ben's like a buffer between Madge's intensity and the football team itself, right? I mean, he helped I guess, tone things down at that footy club and ensure that the playing group was always on side. So in terms of Madge, it's a huge out from that perspective because we all know Madge can grind gears, right? He can wear players down. I think Benny helped. As I said, he was like a conduit between Madge and the playing staff in terms of just keeping things a little bit less intense. So Madge doesn't have that now, and that's, you know, as I said, we've been talked we've talked about on this show, the rumblings out of Red Hill about players sort of becoming frustrated with with Michael and his Madge and his methods. So losing Benny's going to hurt in that front as well.
Yeah, massively.
You know him well, Charlie. I mean, he works for Triple M, right? He's a huge part of our family here.
Yeah, he's a huge part of Triple M, and also he's a mind in the game that is very, very highly regarded. Like, ring Wayne Bennett and ask him what he thinks of Ben Teo. He has huge raps on Ben Teo. He tried to get him to come to South Sydney with him at the time when Wayne left the Dolphins. He wanted to bring Ben Teo with him to Sydney. At the time, Ben had the opportunity to, go to the Broncos, and for family reasons, it made more sense to stay in Brisbane. But this is a huge loss for the Broncos.
Billy Slater's another example of which I just
exactly
suggested.
Yeah.
I mean, Queensland Origin coach wants Ben Teo by his side.
It's a massive loss. The players love Ben, and the players are filthy that Ben could be leaving. Not with Ben, but with the fact the club has allowed the situation to happen. They love Ben. They want him there. At the end of the day, Ben's his own person, though, isn't he? Like, if you're an assistant coach for Michael Maguire, you have to shovel crap and say thank you for the opportunity to shovel crap. And Madge is the overlord.
Shovel crap.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the other word, Reedy, but
like that.
Madge is the man in charge. He's the lieutenant, the army sergeant.
It's his way, right?
It's his way of the
highway, baby.
Yeah,
and Benny's taken the highway.
Yeah.
So
it really is quite extraordinary. And I'm just sitting here trying to think of premiership winning sides go through as many headlines from the moment they won the comp to the new season. And again, I'm happy to stand corrected, but this is quite an extraordinary 6 months for the Brisbane Broncos.
Crazy.
Where the game's best front rower in Payne Haas decides to leave the club. We see the situation with Gordon Tallis and the club making that extraordinary stance to erase his name on I wouldn't say erase his legacy, but erase a key part of their history from their walls. And now the Ben Teo situation, it's unbelievable.
There were times last year when the players were overmatched completely, and Ben was the guy who was able to bring them together and, allow them to sort of forget about their disdain for Michael Maguire and focus on the footy, the goals of winning a premiership. He's so important. He's a huge loss.
Really, do you reckon there's an element of, I said factors that have led to this situation. Do you reckon when they started so slowly, Madge was pointing the finger at Benny's being the defensive coach? He was potentially blaming Ben for the way they started defensively because they conceded 66 points in the first two rounds.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether Madge would have done that, but you'd imagine he would have been asking some questions, right? And probably given their defensive performance the first two rounds, he probably pointed the finger at Benny, which is probably unfair given the way they then played in round three. I mean, that was an attitude thing. That wasn't a coaching thing. The way they played in the opening two rounds. I mean, that's not Ben Teo's fault. That was a player driven. For me, that was all about attitude,
well,
getting their attitude right.
Because James Graham
and that ultimately falls to the head coach, does it not, to get their attitude right? Rather than, but if you're the defensive coach, it's about systems and getting the system right and getting the technique right. But if the attitude is wrong, that surely falls on the head coach. So if he was pointing the finger at Benny, he's missed the mark, and maybe that explains why it's gone down this path. I've got to say, we spoke about him. We've all got the ultimate respect for Benny. He'll land on his feet.
Oh, easily.
It wouldn't surprise me if Wayne Bennett reaches out to him for South Sydney. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned their relationship, really strong relationship, but he will end up. You look at PNG now; they're looking for obviously. The head coaching job's probably too far down the track for him, but they'll need assistant coaches there, tax-free dollars for Benny if he wants to go up there. So there'll be opportunities for Ben Teo. He will land somewhere else in the NRL because he's too good not to.
Do you think even this season maybe?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out because, if you can get a guy like Ben Teo and add him to your staff, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
That'd be a smart thing.
If you can fit, if your staff's not locked in, like a lot of clubs already got their 2+, 3+ coaching staff assistants at the moment, but if there's some wiggle room, I'm sure every coach, every club in the game are now looking. Well, would we benefit from Ben Teo coming into our club and working with our system?
Be interesting to see if Ben comes out. I'm sure the Broncos, as part of this, they'll make sure he doesn't talk about what's happened.
Yeah, they'll be offering him a payout.
Yeah,
for
there'll be
sure.
a payout coming because they want to silence him.
Yeah.
So,
That tells us everything we need to know anyway.
Exactly.
That they want to
Well,
silence
that's right.
Ben.
Yeah.
That means something has happened. That means Ben has been treated incorrectly by Michael Maguire, and it's not a coincidence that Payne Haas is leaving. You know, Ben Teo is leaving. Like Broncos fans want to talk in the comments, say, "Oh, you're just Broncos bashing this."
Yeah.
You know, Broncos getting hammered. But the reality is, this is now you're one of the best assistants in the game is walking away from the club, and the best front rower is walking away from the club.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. What do we think, though? Do we think Ben's time is up in Brisbane officially?
Well, I believe he's tendered his resignation now, so you're not coming back from that, are you?
No.
I mean, that's too far gone.
No, that's over.
And as we've mentioned, Benny's a pretty steadfast, strong-minded individual. I can't imagine he's going to change his mind.
Craig Bellamy on Agenda Setters
Yep.
last night. Great chat,
Yeah, good was
Dave.
he?
It was awesome, mate. It was awesome.
I've got to say, at the moment Craig walked in on set, he was like a breath of fresh air as far as just being so relaxed. Because all we see, you know, and we don't, us Sydney journos don't get to deal with Craig personally a lot through the season. We talk to him on the phone and whatnot, but in person, we don't interact as much. So we do. We get trapped into the fan engagement of Craig Bellamy, and that's always in the box going absolutely Burko. But once he walked in on set, he was so he was upbeat, really happy, excited to actually have some rugby league people in his town, and he was fantastic once the camera started rolling. As far as that interview is concerned, spoke about the development of Suafea Longo, spoke about it's the hot take issues as well around six agains and the current rules, and then the big reveal that he has, you know, he just doesn't know whether Eli Katoa will ever play rugby league again, which is probably about as strong as any Storm official has been on the obviously unfortunate scenario for Eli Katoa.
Yeah. Is that new news, though? We sort of expect that with Eli Katoa, didn't we? That he, you know, that he probably, there's a chance he might not play
The chance he
again.
may not play again, I reckon. That's
the
as Dave said, he's the first Melbourne official to concede that. They've said he won't play this year, but they'll hopefully come back next year. But for Craig to come out and say we may not see him on a rugby league field again, that's pretty significant. Yeah, and hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, that's
Hopefully
right.
That's not the case
He
because
did say he could meet with specialists and get a tick of approval to play. That still remains. But as I said, the development there with that news story, Charlie, was that Craig was the first official to consider that we've seen the last of Ellie as a rugby league player.
He also spoke about the pace of the game as well. Very strong on the fact that what these rule changes have done.
Yeah, this is a really interesting discussion point, and I reckon you can go back to Jason Ryles' post-match press conference on Sunday with the injury to Jermaine Hopgood and how Jason indicated that the rule changes and the fatigue in the game are going to lead to significant injuries.
I would say on that, Ryan Couchman had only been on the field 8 minutes. I think he came on after 20
that's
minutes.
a fair
happened in
point.
28
Jimmy
minutes.
Graham made that point on Monday's episode. Yeah.
But, I mean, that regardless, obviously the speed of the game is an issue at the moment, Dave. As when you've got coaches like Craig and Jason saying that sort of stuff, you've got to listen. And look, I think it'll slow down eventually. The six agains will get reined in. Clubs will get more disciplined. But it is, as I said, when you've got guys like that, of that ilk, raising question marks about the speed of the game, it's an issue.
Yeah.
And the NRL needs to listen to them.
What Craig said was interesting when he said, I don't know what the game will look like in 10 years' time.
He said it might take years off players'
He
careers.
said it could
too,
shorten
didn't he, Dave?
careers.
Could shorten careers, yeah.
And that makes sense. And you know what? I've actually started to think about the body shape of the player that is best suited to these current rules, and it is that smaller forward. We saw that Dolphins Sharks game. It was a tight contest for 25 minutes. It was just aerial ping pong back and forth, almost like table tennis. Such was the ball in play. But then once the fatigue kicked in, it was the Dolphins' smaller forwards, Oren Keeley, Connolly Lemulemu, those guys just doing really good damage through the middle of the Sharks pack, but small mobile forwards, of which is where the Bulldogs have gone to and have actually been criticised that they're too small and need to beef up their size. But in fact, I mean, under the current rules, it might actually suit teams like the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, Dave, because we have criticised the Dogs over the last couple of years for the size of their forward pack. And they went and got Leo Thompson
Yeah.
to give them more size.
To shut us up.
In hindsight, under the old rules, that was probably a masterstroke, but on the current rules, you may not give them the sugar hit they hoped it would. But there's not. Look, as I said, I think the game will slow down at some point because it's so fast at the moment. It's insane. But at some point, it's going to slow down a little bit because I think clubs will become more disciplined. The more disciplined, although in saying that, the team that conceded the most six again this year is Penrith, who are leading the comp.
Yeah.
So maybe you don't need to get more disciplined. Maybe you actually need to be worse.
Yeah.
To be better. It's all very contradictory, Charlie.
It's when to give away the six again, and Penrith seem to have mastered it. Ryan Couchman facing probably a lengthy ban for the tackle on Jermaine Hopgood. He's at the judiciary tonight. What do we think he's going to get?
Well, I mean, obviously, Hopgood's season's over, and they took that into account. They get medical records before they make a decision on the extent of the grading. So the match review committee would have taken that into account. That'll be tendered as evidence tonight in terms of Couchman. The fact he's out for the season, it makes it really hard to argue and get a significant downgrade on what he's facing. I think he's looking at probably, 6 to 8 weeks for it. And I feel for him because he did his ACL, I think, last year, right? So if anyone knows how significant that is, it's Ryan Couchman, but he's ended Hopgood's season, and that's from an illegal tackle. So it's hard to fight that.
Yeah, a minimum of a month out is what he's facing. Whenever it's referred, you're a long way back there. It's a significant blow to the point of which both Couchmans now will be out. His brother is out with a HIA for this game against the Gold Coast Titans. Huge game for the Dragons. So it's a significant blow for Saints.
What about that game, the Spoon Bowl?
No, an early Spoon Bowl.
Fair.
What's your Spoon Bowl?
It's a Spoon Bowl.
Yeah, it's your Spoon Bowl. Not all of us had them in running last.
Well, whoever loses will be 0-4.
It's only early days, Reedy.
Okay.
You had Cowboys last, didn't you?
Yes.
Ryan Couchman, did you say 6 to 8 weeks?
I believe.
I go 4 to 6.
If you look at a dangerous contact charge, right? A grade 3, mind you, that's with priors, is 5 matches. So for him to get an ungraded referred charge, that suggests I think it's more significant than that. So I think there's a potential of potentially 6 weeks.
Was it that bad a tackle?
No.
He made it.
Understand.
Tell Jermaine Hopgood it wasn't that bad a tackle. But bloke's out for the rest of the year.
Quote Jason Ryles.
He was on 8 minutes.
It's not intentional.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Accidents happen.
What high tackle is intentional? Most of them are unintentional.
Accidents happen.
Yeah, but actually, that's fine. Accidents can happen. But when you end a bloke's season in round 3,
understand.
From a tackle that the game has tried to stamp out.
What do you want him out for 8 weeks?
I don't want him out for 8 weeks, but he's been referred directly to the judiciary.
What do you want him out for?
Well, it's not what I want.
Yes, it is. You're the one having an opinion.
No, it's not. It doesn't matter what I want. The judiciary, the match review committee has referred him directly to the judiciary. He's looking at 4's very. If he gets 4 weeks, I'll be stunned. He should get 5, 6, 7, 8.
I reckon he should get 2 or 3
It's
weeks.
a referred charge.
It's not.
I understand that.
Well, if he got 2 to 3, they would have charged him.
But what I mean is they've.
I don't think it was a copybook hip drop.
Mate, he lost his feet and tore the bloke's ACL.
The worst hip drop we've probably ever seen in the NRL that I can remember anyway was probably Pat Carrigan on Jackson Hastings. Broke Jackson Hastings' ankle and syndesmosis.
What did he get for that?
He got 4 weeks.
Did he? Okay.
That's nowhere near. What Couchman did is nowhere near as bad as
the minimum he'll get is 4. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets longer.
Yeah, that seems harsh.
Okay.
Just quickly on Payne Haas, boys. How's his body? Is he going to be right to go?
They're saying, and you know what? I reckon we're going to be playing this game every week with Payne. It's called the Will Payne Play game.
Payne's in pain.
Yeah. And the Broncos are putting it down to load management.
Oh, okay.
With Payne Haas. And this is a byproduct of what we've always seen with Payne. Remember the outstanding semi-final down in Canberra? The guy looked shot. Remember he got injured during the game? He looked like he couldn't walk, was out for the rest of the season, then just recovers during the game. Look, they're saying it's load management, Charlie, so this one will go right down to the wire as far as kickoff is concerned for Payne.
He'll play. Payne Haas doesn't miss footy.
No, I agree. I think he plays.
He's a machine, that guy.
It was weird they only used 15 players in the game against Storm, wasn't it? Carrigan played 80. Haas played over 70.
Worked a treat for them.
It did. It absolutely did. Yeah. Everyone listening, get your pens and paper out and get ready for this. Go to codesports.com.au/Triple M because we've got an offer that is one of the greatest offers ever given out in a podcast.
Wow.
Ever, Reedy.
Ever.
You're the ultimate hype guy.
$49 for 12 months of Code Sports if you use that link.
Feed.
$49.
Chicken feed, that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And you get all this, if you're a Supercoach fan, like I am, you got amazing Supercoach articles. You got
stats, Code Sports
stats, yeah.
You would have got the Ben T.O. news first?
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's
so
true.
much interesting articles in there by some of the best journalists in the world of sport. So go and check that out today. Just quickly before we move on to some of the other stuff for the week, for the show, but Willie Mason, he had this to say on his podcast, Levels.
These fuckers are that good defensively. If they don't win the first tackle in contact, they give the penalty away because they're so smart. And because when they ding, 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 you can lay on that person for like 5 seconds and really give it away. They get their defensive line set and they do not miss that next tackle. They win every single tackle from then.
Penrith, the masters of when to give the 6 away.
Interesting stuff from Big Mace, and I mean that. Really interesting insight, and he makes a whole heap of sense on why Penrith and Melbourne rank among the two teams that give away the most, the leading teams that give away the most 6 against. And it's seemingly at this early stage of the season strategic. Backing their defensive wall once that defensive line is set, backing their fitness, their physicality, and absolute fight for each other. And it'll be a case, I reckon, Reedman, now of just every other team trying to duplicate their strategy. It's a case of whether they're fit enough, whether they've got the connection, the same connectivity in their defensive line, and understanding on how to perfect it. That's probably key.
I'm just looking. We did something last week. I think we looked at who gave the most away over the opening 2 rounds, and I don't think we'd done it for the last round. I'm just looking at the Panthers' last round. They gave away 8 set restarts. 8 set restarts against the Roosters, and they smashed them, right? They probably would have smashed them anyway, but they've been at the head of the pack for a long time, Penrith, haven't they? And part of the reason for that is they're just smarter than everyone else. Ivan's done an amazing job.
But the funny thing is Ivan was asked about this by some journos yesterday, and he said, "Yeah, it's a discipline problem. We've got to correct it. We've got to get on top of our discipline."
Yeah,
and so he's putting the smother on. I love it from Ive.
Yeah,
but certainly it's strategy.
Interesting. And was it Storm that are the number 2?
Storm were number 2.
So you probably got...
And they gave away 7 against the Broncos.
Okay.
Which is, again, a pretty significant number of set restarts.
Are you guys worried then? Obviously, Ivan Cleary and Craig Bellamy, probably the 2 smartest minds in the game. Are you worried then every team's now going to copy? Because we're in a copycat league, aren't we?
Well, what's the old saying? When someone coughs, everyone gets a cold, right? That's what Kenty's old favourite saying back in the day. And there's no doubt other coaches will replicate this. So I don't know how you combat it. I don't know what the NRL does to combat this.
I think it's okay to say we're going to copy it, but for everything I just said before, I think it's about where Penrith sits as far as their connectivity and understanding of what's required.
Yeah.
Their physicality,
their resilience,
their fitness levels, their resilience, their mentality, and not every single team. And if they did have the same ingredients of which I've just mentioned, they would be sitting alongside Penrith.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. I mean, other teams can't afford to give away 6 against because they don't have the mental fortitude and the resilience to be able to withstand a barrage of attack. So that's where Penrith, Melbourne, they're different, right? They're different gravy because they're just built differently.
Do you think then the rule changes have unfortunately given a consequence then that makes the stronger team stronger?
Every rule that they bring in has a consequence. To, again, reflect on favourite quotes, Todd Greenberg was the carpet bubble theory. You press the carpet over here and the bubble pops over here. Absolutely it does. And the good coaches know how to manipulate it in their favour. Smarter teams.
You know, you got Penrith and Melbourne, got blokes like Nathan Cleary and Harry Grant.
Yep.
Guiding those teams around, right? I mean, they're intelligent footballers who can adapt
Dylan
and react
Edwards,
on the field.
Isaiah Yeo.
Not many teams are blessed with guys like that as well. That's the other part of it.
Not many podcasts are blessed with guys like Willie Mason as well. Great podcast levels. Check it out if you haven't already. Now, this week, obviously, we spoke about Ryan Couchman before, but we'll have no Trey Mooney, no Tom Chester, no Josh Papali'i, all suspended. But Adam Dewey, some great news. he's cleared from that hamstring injury.
Yeah, he's cleared. They still want to check him. He's an outside chance of playing. Well, sorry, they need to get the team list Tuesday. So if his name appears on the list on Tuesday afternoon, then he's a chance to play because they won't name him just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
it is a lot better than first feared. Which honestly, first fear, he looked like he was going to go for 3 months.
He looks shot, Dave. He looks shot. So it's a miracle recovery from Adam Dewey.
Yep.
Obviously, and it's important with Jerome out that he's around. If he was out an extended period and Jerome was out an extended period, that would have made life really difficult for the Tigers. But hopefully if he's not back this week, he plays next week, Adam Dewey.
Just for Manly, Charlie, they were hoping to get big Siwa Takiyoho back for this huge Roosters game. Unfortunately, he's gone down yesterday with a bit of calf tightness, and it's the calf that's been his, dare I say, Achilles heel. It's been the plaguing injury of for some time for big Siwa. And that will see Simeone Lafai. Now, Simeone Lafai is the very, very big man, but talented teenager that a lot of Manly fans are hoping to see a lot more of. He's going to feature in the 19-man squad, and his involvement in the game will basically be determined by how the game's going. If they need a big man through the middle, and they want to dominate, or he'll get a run, but if they're chasing points on behind of the score, they might have to go a smaller player.
Big game Thursday.
Massive.
Roosters Manly.
Huge.
It's sort of like whoever loses, they're going to dominate the headlines all weekend, you feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a massive game for both those clubs. And I was going to say both those coaches, but I don't think it's as significant for probably Robbo as it is for Siebes. I mean, I think it's mad that we're talking about Siebes' future. He's 3 games in, or 2 games, sorry.
He's not 2 games, he's 3 years.
Mate, his winning percentage is 49%, right? It's not the worst record. He did make the finals 2 years ago.
But it's
second
not
week
crazy.
of the finals.
It was.
There's coaches in the game with worse coaching records than him,
Of course,
who
but-
we don't talk about.
Of
I don't get it.
But it's not crazy. He came in under pressure and they started slow.
Right. Other coaches,
Coaching records aren't everything, Reedy. You have to.
are they?
No.
I would have thought they're pretty significant when you're deciding a coach's fate.
I didn't say they weren't significant. I
Their
said they're not
record.
everything.
The bloke was second week of the
You got to
finals
look at the
2
roster.
years ago.
You got to look at the roster. You got to
Yeah,
look
and
at where
their roster is. I don't think it's the best roster going round.
Yeah,
But Siebes built that roster.
No.
He's been
Mate,
there for
not
3
all those
years
decisions
now.
were his, though, Charlie.
But he is the coach.
Other people of that club are making decisions, and he has basically had to abide by them.
So which decisions are you talking about there?
Decisions.
Can you
I'm
reveal?
not going to go into the
Reedy-
individual decisions.
Well, because let's think about
Well,
some of them.
do you think Siebes made the decision to give Jake Trbojevic an option in his contract? Do you think that was made by Siebes?
No,
Or do you
but-
think that was
but-
made by the board when they were under pressure
But would
at the
Siebes
end
have-
of last season
the latter.
when Warrington came in for the Trbojevic brothers? Do you think that was made by the board and the senior officials of the club? I think it was.
Yeah, but Siebes wouldn't have got rid of Jake Trbojevic.
Probably not. No, probably not. But
Yeah.
again, I don't think that decision was made by him.
Did he? Was he?
Well, that's part of the problem. Let's go through the clubs on when you know as well as I do. Head coaches are in charge of their roster.
Not always, Dave.
Oh,
I
come
mean,
on, mate.
decisions are made by more than the head coach has the major influence and the major decision. But sometimes at some clubs, there's influence put on them by senior figures from
GMs
the
of
club.
footy.
They're a privately owned football club too. You got to remember that. It's not like you're talking about. Well, I mean, I was going to say the Dogs, but you don't think
Gus.
Phil Gould's having a say on recruitment decisions at the Bulldogs?
Sure.
Clearly, he is massive say. So I don't like we can lump it all at Siebes, but I think that's really unfair.
Don't get me wrong here. I'm not.
And forget about regardless of the roster, right? I don't think it's a great roster,
But that's where I was coming
regardless
back-
of the roster, what I'm saying is his record since he's been there is not that bad. So why are we talking about his future after 2 games?
Yeah, no, I
think
agree
it's
with you on that.
insane.
I agree
And
with
I think
you.
the other part of it is, Charlie, in the background, you've got people agitating, right? Agitating for change because there's people pushing Matt Ballin on the football club. And that makes life difficult as well. And it's not for me. And look, I've got a good relationship with Steve John. I consider him a mate to an extent. I wouldn't invite him to a birthday party at my house, but
Well, I haven't been to your
in the
birthday
football
either.
realm, he's a mate, right? And I think it's really unfair that we're talking about him after 2 weeks. I think it's insane.
I don't disagree with
Okay.
you. My key point was you can rattle off all your coaching records and strike rates
Yeah.
all you want, but you have to actually analyse the roster of that coaching record.
Yeah.
What was the state of the club? Or are they going through a development phase or a rebuild? It's you can't just go, that coaching record's ordinary and that one's good. You have to look at a little bit deeper, is what
Exactly,
I'm saying.
that's what I'm saying.
And so I'm with you.
Thank you.
I don't believe the Manly roster. They weren't in my top 8.
Now, I would say if they lose on Thursday night and they go 0-3 and their first 3 games are at home, doesn't matter what he's done in the past, people are going to talk about it because they're already talking about it.
That performance against the Knights was the worst performance we've
They were
seen
terrible.
this year.
Shocking.
And that's another reason why he's under
But they
as much
weren't
pressure.
bad in week 1 against Canberra.
They stayed in the
weren't
fight on that
shocking.
one.
Yeah, but they
Had a red hot
they
go.
probably should have beaten Canberra.
Probably.
They
They
had the
probably
ball
should
for
have.
the first 15 minutes,
Yeah,
didn't
probably.
they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Trent Robinson, is there real pressure on him?
Oh, I don't-
And I know it's a tough one, Reedy, for yourself. You've had some blues with Robbo over the last couple of years.
He's a great coach, man. Like, you talk about the modern generation of coaches, there's like Craig, Wayne, Ivan, Robbo, right? They're the great coaches of our game. And I reckon, as I always say, I think the most pressure on Robbo is probably the pressure he puts on himself because, we all know Nick loves Robbo, right? And he's won him 3 comps. I know it's been seven years since the last comp, I think. Is that right?
It's 2019.
7 years? Yeah. It's been a long time between
Mate, it's the
drinks.
longest drought for the Roosters in the NRL era between
right?
grand finals.
And there's a lot of expectation around them this season, Dave.
Listen.
You've had
Can you cut to
expectation
the-
around for a
can you
long
cut to
time.
the chase?
I don't think there's pressure on Robbo. No.
Charlie, what are you asking? Are you asking us whether Trent Robinson is in danger of being sacked?
Is under any pressure at all.
Of course he's under pressure.
Yeah.
Of
So
course, what you can go, you can have a losing season? Of course, that's pressure.
is he in danger of being sacked then?
No.
At all.
I don't think he's either. Not at the moment.
Is there a chance of him being moved into a C-suite role at the Roosters or a head of football role or something like that?
He'd be good enough to do it.
Yeah.
He'd be good enough
On
to do
his
it.
ear. But I don't think so. I
don't
think
think
Robbo.
so.
I imagine Robbo still wants to coach. I mean, the suggestion with Robbo has always been that he will go to France and coach in France. And there's a wild rumour going around at the moment that he's going to go at the end of this year. I checked it with Nick Politis last night. I spoke to Nick, and Nick said that's not right. He won't be going to France at the end of the year. But there's also, and Nick was steadfast that he's our coach, and I love him, and he's not going anywhere. And I believe that Nick, he's got Nick's backing, and well, I get the feeling Nick will always back Robbo because of what he's done for the footy club. But
I don't think there'll ever be a situation
There'd be
where they knife him, where they sack him without, in the dead of night that we don't see it come. It will be an arrangement where Robbo decides to finish up at the Roosters. That's
but
it.
the way they're going at the moment, there is cause for concern. I mean, they could go 1-3 this week.
They were
The halves
terrible.
the halves aren't working. We had a stat in the paper today that I think they've had 1 try assist between them in the opening 3 rounds. And the issues they've had are the same issues they've had for 4 or 5 years now. Their discipline is an abomination. They give away penalty after penalty, and it's not like we're talking about Melbourne and Penrith. The penalties they give away, they can't defend them. The defence is a disgrace. It's 2 of the 3 weeks this year. And they make error after error. Well, it's the way the ill discipline in their game at the moment is shocking.
Is that the concern then, that the things that are going wrong are the things that have been going wrong for several years and they haven't adapted their playing style? Trent Robinson doesn't seem to be identifying what the issues are and making change.
I think Robbo's identified them. I think Robbo's admitted their discipline's poor, pretty sure. And obviously he's trying to fix it, but I think rather than the coach, it'll be the players that'll get turned over.
Yeah. Can I throw a wild conspiracy out
What do you
there?
got? What do you
What
got?
you
Always
guys?
got one.
So Craig Fitzgibbon is signed until the end of 2027. Still no extension yet for Craig Fitzgibbon at the
Pretty
Sharks.
close, mate.
I think they want to re-sign him, but
Pretty
for whatever
close,
reason,
mate.
it hasn't happened yet, though.
Pretty close.
It hasn't happened.
What are you suggesting?
Could Trent Robinson move into a head of football role and Craig Fitzgibbon makes the switch from Cronulla to the Roosters?
I say no, only on the basis that I believe he's about to extend. But if you're asking me who the coach that the Roosters would want most to replace Trent Robinson, it's Craig Fitzgibbon.
Okay.
Okay.
Why hasn't he extended then? Because that's been going on a while now. That
Charlie,
extension
just trust
tour.
me, brother. Trust me. He's staying on. He's there.
All right. Okay. You agree, Reedy?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think.
Reedy's back in
I
the
think.
I look for.
He gets good mail out of the show.
Of course he
Can I,
does. Of
uh,
course he does. No, I know. That's why I went to him
Yeah.
first.
I just
yeah.
want to get an invitation to your birthday,
Well, could be a wild day.
and with Siebes.
How much fun will that be? I'll get Siebes on the decks.
Yeah.
Well,
He'll get his shirt off.
Shirt off on the decks.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Yeah. He'll get some Maccas after. We'll go to the Maccas
Yeah,
after.
how good.
How good would that be?
Just finally, boys, Brian To'o, is he the greatest winger of all time? That try on the weekend was incredible.
He's played some damn good wingers.
Denning Kemp gave him a big hype on Bloke in a Bar, said he's the best of all time. Is he, fellas?
Well, who'd be on the podium there?
Brent Morris.
Kenny Irvine, obviously.
Delicious. Wendell Saylor.
Wendell.
Yeah,
love
Dell
Wendell.
changed the game.
Lottie.
They'll change the game.
Wendell more than Lottie, I suppose. He's probably on the podium, I'd imagine. Brian
Brett
To'o.
Morris, mate,
Brett Morris.
is outstanding.
Great player, yeah.
But wingers, greatest of. It's the way the game's transitioned. The winger, you know, we had the small winger. We had the player that every other middle forward used to bag. That they were just a footballer on them out there.
He's very good, Brian, and he's not slowing down, man. He just gets.
Mate.
He seems to get better. He's like a fine wine.
He gets better and better,
Better
with
and
age.
better with age, baby. That try was a ripper.
It was insane, wasn't it? The double kick.
Unreal.
Very clever.
He had sort of a flat year by his standards last year, so it's good. I wonder if he was busted or.
Yeah,
or something.
he definitely had injuries.
Definitely had injuries,
Yeah. He's had to fight his way back from injury on a number of occasions. Brian, he's amazing. That was awesome identification from Nathan because the Roosters like to rush up defensively, so they ran it twice on fifth tackle and they scored twice. And Bizza was just all on the end of it with that soccer play.
Food for thought for Manly this week, Dave. Run it in the
There
last.
There you go, little tip.
Siebes, if you're out there.
I'm sure he's listening. I'm sure he's
tip
listening.
for you, buddy.
Yeah. Great show, boys. Great to have you
Thanks,
in.
Charlie.
See you guys next Tuesday.